Hello everybody, in this video I will quickly show you how to analyze a nominal, an ordinal and a scale variable in Excel. This will go much quicker of course than in class, so please feel free to pause the video where you want, and then you can make sure that you can do all the steps yourself while following the video. So I will show you how to analyze nominal, ordinal and scale variables. In this scheme here you see what can be done for a nominal, an ordinal and a scale variable. So let's take a look here in our customer satisfaction survey that you can also find on Toledo under class 4. So let's look for a nominal variable here. So for example, the car question here, how do you come to the store, by car or not by car? This is a nominal question. This is the first question, so this will refer to Q1 in our Excel sheet. So let's go to Excel and let's construct here the analysis of the nominal variable. So to analyze a nominal variable, I will first insert a pivot table. So this pivot table takes as the range the entire input range of the data matrix. And when you have that pivot table here, then you can see that you can drag and drop the Q's, the questions, here into the quadrant, into the columns and into the rows. Sorry that it is in Dutch, but okay, that's what it is. So it is question 1 right now. Question 1, we will drag and drop that into the rows. And you will see that puts the value 1, 2, 9 and 22 in the rows. But you see that there are only 2 values possible actually in the first question, so by car and not by car. So that means that there are errors that needs to be filtered out. So I filter out the 9 and the 22, and then we have this. The first refers to the by car group, and the second option is not by car. Now, when we have our labels here, it's time to add the absolute and relative frequency by dragging and dropping the Q1 again to the values. Now, we're going to change the sum of Q1 always using the value field settings into the count. And when you just leave it like that, we're actually creating the absolute frequency, like this. So this is how to add the absolute frequency. In order to add a relative frequency, you do exactly the same. Drag and drop Q1 again into the values, change in the field settings the value again to count, but then show the value as a percentage as the column total. So if you show it as a column total, again we change a custom name here into relative frequency, and like that we have constructed our frequency table showing the absolute and the relative frequency. Of course you can also add a chart. So again under inserts you can go to pivot chart, and in pivot chart you do exactly the same. So the range takes the entire data matrix, and then you actually do the same. So you take Q1, you put it in the rows, you filter out the errors, like so. You label them by car and not by car. And then you add the frequencies, so dragging, dropping Q1 into the values, change it into the value field settings into the count, which is the absolute frequency, or you choose the relative frequency. In marketing, we actually always use the relative frequency to be shown in a chart. So instead of just showing the absolute frequency here, I'm immediately going to show the value as a percentage of the column total, and I'm going to show the relative frequency. In a chart and in the charts in marketing, we're always going to show percentages. Now it can seem like an option, but when we're going to do cross analysis, it's even completely wrong to analyze the absolute frequencies. So always take a look at the relative frequencies. As you can see here in our scheme, we can construct a bar chart or a pie chart. So if you want a pie chart instead of a bar chart, you can click on the bars, choose change series chart type, and just change it into the pie chart like this. If you want the percentages on the chart, you click with your right mouse button and you show the data labels, add the data labels or show the data labels. Sorry. Here. Good. So now we have constructed our chart and our table. You can of course also calculate the statistics like the modes, and the mode is actually just the most occurring value, and that is the by car group in this case. Okay, now let's take a look at the ordinal variable. So in order to analyze an ordinal variable, let's select one. For example, here question number 2, are you very satisfied, satisfied, dissatisfied, very dissatisfied? This is a good example of an ordinal question, but the H is as well an ordinal question. Let's take this one because this is also the one that I've shown on the slides and in the class. So I'm going to analyze the H question to show you how an ordinal variable can be analyzed. So add a new sheet, ordinal. And I do exactly the same. I go to insert the pivot table, go to the data matrix, select the entire range here, and the question about the H is number 5, so that refers to Q5 here in my list. So Q5 goes into the rows, and if I put it here in the rows, you immediately see that we have way more than the allowed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 categories that are in the question. So again, we're going to filter out some errors like 6, 7, 9, and also the blanks filtered out. Let's label them. So it is under 20 years, it is between 20 years and 34 years, then to 35 years to 49 years, 50 years to 64 years, and 65 years plus. So now they're labeled, and we do exactly the same, dragging dropping Q5 into the values in order to add the absolute frequency like so. So this is exactly the same as before, and we also add the relative frequency by dragging dropping this again, making sure you first select count of course, and then show it as a percentage of the column total. So now we have the absolute and the relative frequency in the table. The chart is exactly the same as before. So again, we go to insert and insert the pivot chart. Again, selecting the entire range here, dragging dropping Q5 again into the rows, removing the errors like so, labeling them under 20 years to 34 years, 35 years to 49 years, 50 years to 64 years, and 65 years plus. And then again, because we're working in marketing, we're going to only show the relative frequency of the Q5 of the H by going to the value field settings here again, showing count, and then show it as the percentage of the column total. So like this, we again show the relative frequency in the chart. Yes, if you like, you can also transform this into a pie chart if you like. If you want the values on the bars, then that's it. Okay. So right now, again, I've shown you how to analyze a nominal and an ordinal variable. Now it's time to analyze the scale variable. Scale variables are a little bit different because a frequency table actually does not work in most of the cases because we have way too many different values. So we need to make classes for that. But you also see that for a scale variable you can actually calculate all possible measures of central tendency and dispersion, but the chart type is again different, and you can show a box plot or a histogram. So let's go to our survey here and look for a scale variable. Number 4 is a good example of a scale question. How much did you spend at the store? ... fill it in. So this is actually a value that you need to fill in, so that's our scale variable. Number 4, so that refers again to Q4 in our analysis here. So what I'm going to do, I'm first going to copy paste the entire column Q4 over here. That way I have access to the Q4 values immediately in my sheet, and that will make things way more easy. So I will start by constructing the frequency table, but for the frequency table we need classes in this case. So I'm going to construct classes, and it's up to you to construct these classes yourself. If I scroll just down the list, I see that these values range from a really low value, probably even 1, 132, 133, 111. So it will be in the 130 something that is the highest value in this list. So let's make a couple of classes, like for example 0 to 20, then 20 to 50, 50 to 70. You see that the bounds of those classes do not overlap. That's why I make use of those brackets. But also the width of the classes does not need to be the same. So let's then make, for example, class 70 to 140. Okay, so you can clearly see that those classes have unequal width. In order to make Excel count how many occurrences are in those classes, we need the bin ranges, because Excel does not understand the thing with the brackets. So we need to add another column here in our frequency table that refers to the bin ranges. So actually that's just the upper bounds of the classes that I've created, like this. And now Excel can be used to calculate the absolute and the relative frequencies. So I'm going to do that by going to the data sheet, the data icon here in my menu, and then on the right hand side you will find the data analysis toolpack. If you don't have that, Google how to add the data analysis toolpack to your Excel. I've shown that in class. So I go to the data analysis toolpack here on the right on my ribbon, and the data analysis toolpack can be used to make Excel count the number of occurrences that can be put in my respective classes. Therefore, I'm going to select the histogram option here in the data analysis toolpack, and the input range are all the values under Q4 excluding the header. So you can clearly see that I do not select the header, just the values. And then the bin range is of course the bin range that we have created there. I'm going to output that in the range of F2, because then I have the output here in this Excel sheet, like this. And Excel is going to count right now. So in order to count, that is called the absolute frequency. So we know right now we have 173 observations in the first class, 150 in the second class, and so on. To turn this into the relative frequency, we already know how to do that, and we're just going to calculate the total of the absolute frequency and then divide the absolute frequency by the total, fixing the total with dollar signs, and then we can drop all those values down, maybe even show it as a percentage, and now we have the absolute and the relative frequency in a frequency table with classes that we have decided on ourselves. Now, how can you show the graphical representation of the scale variable? Again, going to my scheme here, you can see that you can use a box plot or a histogram. How do we do that? Well, I'm going to select first all the data under Q4. So again, I select just all the values, excluding the header. Then I go to Insert, and then I choose here the statistical chart option. The statistical chart option that you choose between a histogram or a box plot. So you can see here, that's easy to include a box plot or a histogram. In class, we included the histogram, like so. And if you want to change the bin width, you see that Excel right now chooses a bin width of 12 euros. And Excel, it's special about Excel cannot work with different class widths in histograms. It all needs to be the same class widths. You see in the frequency table, if we make Excel count manually here in our frequency table, it does not really matter. By using the data analysis toolpack, class widths can be different, but not in the histogram option. So if you like a different class width, you can double click on the values here on your horizontal axis, and then you will see here that you the options of the axis. Right now the bins are chosen automatically, but you can select a bin width yourself, and then here you can see that you can adjust the bin width in, for example, 10 or whatever. But Excel does it quite good. Right now 12 is totally fine for the bin width. Good, so we're almost there for a scale variable. We have shown the table, we have shown the chart, but of course, going back to our scheme, we can see that we now can calculate all possible measures of central tendency and dispersion. So in order to to add those, I again go to that data analysis toolpack, so data in menu, then in my ribbon to the data analysis toolpack. But now I go to descriptive statistics, so here descriptive statistics, and then you again, the input range is all the values under Q4 excluding the header again. And I'm going to show the output, well, here somewhere in K2 in my case, and I'm going to ask for the what is it, descriptive statistics, or I don't know what it is in English, but you have to select this here. It's the summary statistics, I think it's called summary statistics. And then you can press on OK, and now you see everything here. We have the mean, we have the standard error, which is not a standard deviation. Standard deviation is over here. We have the variance and so on. A median, mode, everything that we have learned before is here. So you can calculate it easily right now. Good. Thank you for listening, and see you next time in class.